Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Amabile. This is part 1 of a series of videos explaining my book, Changing the Worlds, the for-profit plan to mine asteroids and terraform 2 planets in 1 human lifetime. I'm a West Point graduate, a former airspace and missile defense officer in the U.S. Army, an entrepreneur, and a space enthusiast. Special thanks to my friend Sam Wallace, who helped with this presentation. Currently, the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 makes outer space the collective possession of mankind. This makes most economic activity, and by extension nearly all free market activity in space, impossible. Things can be made on Earth and carried into space, like satellites and space shuttles. But to actually own an asteroid, a moon, a planet, a solar system, or a galaxy is basically illegal, in the sense that no one would have any property rights to that property, asteroid, moon, etc. I propose that the United States remove ourselves from this treaty. This treaty is based on the philosophy of Karl Marx, where property should be owned in common. And while that sounds wonderful, this frequently leads to violence and poverty, because people disagree on how their property should be used, and they frequently use violence to resolve those disputes. John Locke, on the other hand, believed that property rights were inherent to individual people, and that it was a duty of the government to protect those rights. We see that John Locke's policies have been very influential in Britain and the United States. It is in these countries where a disproportionate amount of technological development has come about in the last 400 years, as a direct result of joint stock companies being able to form to provide funds for inventors and entrepreneurs who are then able to create property and technology and then sell it to their consumers. Layers of technological innovation, layer on top of layer, have led over several centuries to a significant difference in the standard of living amongst Westerners, and in particular societies under the influence of John Locke, versus other poorer societies like the former states of the Soviet Union, or in other parts of the world that did not have joint stock companies. We see that now, 400 years later, the United States is 1/4 of all the wealth on Earth, and we've created an enormous disproportion of mankind's technology: cell phones, electricity, mass-produced car, airplanes, etc. Where we see the idea of things being communally owned has led to considerable problems. And even when we look specifically at space, we see that there's been practically no government action in space. There's not been housing constructed, there are no restaurants, mines. The International Space Station does not have any kind of a for-profit mission. They just do research. So anyway, while there's been some reasonable progress made in space, intellectually and scientifically, there's been no human progress in space. No one lives in space, there's no restaurants or mines, there's no economic activity in space of any kind, other than things created on Earth and carried into space. Now, if the United States were to pull out of the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, this would open up practically infinite amounts of real estate, mineral wealth, all kinds of technological innovations would be open to us if we were to leave this treaty. Now, over the course of my book, I'll explain how to do that, why we would do that, what we would use to do that. A lot of this technology exists right now. This is not a science fiction book. And we can still have regulations in space. It would not be the Wild West. We have regulations on Earth for how to make airplanes, how to fly airplanes. When you go from one country to another, we have rules and laws for these things. It should be no more complex for humans to buy property on Mars than it would be for an American to buy property in Britain. Well, anyway, I'll address that in subsequent videos. If you'd like to know more in the meantime, please go to my website, www.changingtheworlds.com. Thank you.